Well, if you're anything like me, after all the hunting seasons are over, you're left with a bunch of wild game meat in your freezer, and here is a great way to use some of it. Last year, we processed nearly 500 pounds of wild game meat between our family and my hunting partners. So we were completely blown away when we found out that we could make our very own thin sliced deli lunch meat at a fraction of a cost that you can buy it for in the store. And you can use your own deer and elk meat. I'm also going to go over one thing that completely sped up my workflow and all the steps it's going to take to make it, from cubing, how much fat to use, seasoning, smoking, everything it's going to take to get it to a thin sliced product that tastes great with no mystery ingredients. So let's hop right into it. All right, well, let's go over everything we need to get started. Very first thing is make sure and thaw out your wild game meat a few days ahead of time. That way it's good and thawed out when you go to make your lunch meat. Nothing worse than grabbing a brick out of the fridge thinking you're going to work on it that day and you just struggle. So make sure you take it out a few days beforehand. I'll put it on like the floor of the garage and let it get most of the way thawed out, and then I'll put it in my spare refrigerator to finish thawing. Second thing you're going to need to make sure you get is seasoning. So just whatever your favorite jerky seasoning or pepperoni stick seasoning, it doesn't really matter. Just mix it per the directions. I like to use PS brand seasonings, and we can get them locally, but sometimes I've got to order them. So kind of plan ahead and make sure that your local stores either have the seasonings and supplies you need or order them ahead of time. That way you're not in a pinch. Next thing you're going to want to pick up from most of your local grocers or chef stores is you're going to want to get pork. So pork shoulder, pork butt work the best, and you can use just pork fat, whatever's easiest available to you and cost effective. But you're going to want 50% pork, 50% wild game. So if you want to make 20 pounds, you want 10 pounds of pork, 10 pounds of wild game. Next thing you're on the list is powdered milk. The non-fat powdered milk. You can get it at any grocery store. Really doesn't matter the brand. And this is what's going to bind your lunch meat together. And you're going to need 1 cup for every 5 pounds of lunch meat. And it doesn't taste like milk. You can't taste it at all. I thought the same thing. It's just to help bind it together. You can't notice it in there at all. So the next thing you're going to need is a way to make your loaves. You can use these thin roasting pans, little aluminum ones. I get the shallower ones. That way it's easier to slice and it takes less time for it to cook. You can get the deeper ones, but I prefer the thin ones. If you don't have those, you can just use gallon Ziploc bags and stuff the meat in there and kind of squish it flat and uniform. So either way works. It's more of a personal preference. They work about the same. It's a little bit easier to get them out of those tin pans, but it's not much different. So potato. The next thing you're going to need is mixing bowls or lugs to mix your meat in. I use these lugs. You can get them at the chef store. You can get them at sporting goods stores. They're $20 or so a piece. Also, these small pans, you can get these at Walmart, whatever. And these work good for keeping the meat in the refrigerator. Sometimes if you have a different shaped refrigerator and these big lugs just don't fit in there for you, that's a little workaround. You're also going to need a scale to weigh out all your meat so you know exactly how much you have, because the seasoning is very dependent on how much meat is in there. So if you got an extra pound or two, you could end up with stuff that's really bland, And if you have a little less in there, it could be really salty or really overpowering flavor. So make sure and measure everything out per the directions with any of these meat processing videos. Make sure and follow the directions to the T, because you don't want to make 20 pounds of dog food. The most important thing you're going to need for this process is a meat grinder. Now, I use the LEM number 32 Big Bite meat grinder, and this thing has been a rock star. I used to have a Cabela's brand grinder, a bigger one, and it worked good, but this thing can mow through some serious meat in a short amount of time. It doesn't even slow down. It's been great. They have a lot of different models. Get the biggest one you can afford, and the one with the biggest auger you can get. This one is the number 32, which is a large auger, and it doesn't even slow down. I can load this thing as fast as I want. It doesn't get hot. I've never had an issue with it, and I do a ton of meat processing every year. So I can't say enough good things about this meat grinder. But that's pretty much what you're going to need, except for, I guess you will need ice. So if you don't have an ice maker, get a bag of ice, and that is pretty much it. And some pan cooking spray, but most of the other things you're going to need for this, you're going to have in your kitchen. So let's hop right into actually making it. So the very first part you need to do is thaw out all your meat, cut it into chunks. That way it'll fit in the meat grinder. Get your pork, and if it has a bone in it, make sure to remove the bone and get it all cut into pieces. Mix it half and half in chunk form, and then run it through your meat grinder with the big plate. And then you're going to want to run it through, I believe it's a 1/4 inch plate, and then you're going to want to run it through again with the small plate. And that'll make sure you don't have any big chunks in there that have some chew to it. And I personally don't like to run it through twice in the small plate, because I feel like it gets kind of hot doggy texture. It's just real dense. So that's just the way I like it. Experiment with it, and if you like it a different way, put it down in the comments. But that's just my protocol for grinding it.
Per the directions, mix all your dry ingredients, seasoning, and your 1 cup of powdered milk per 5 pounds. Add that to your meat, mix it in, and then you're going to add 1 cup of ice water for every 7 pounds of meat. Mix that all together, and you're going to stuff it in your pans and leave it overnight. Spray your aluminum pans with pan cooking spray, and make sure and press down on the meat as you're filling them so there are no voids.
All right, guys, well, it's the next day, and our corned beef sat in the fridge all night, and it should be nice and solid. So the plan is peel the saran wrap off. I'm going to cut some squares of parchment paper, flip it over and set it on the parchment paper, and then we're going to head for the smoker. So I'm going to cut me 2 squares here, about the size of the corned beefs. That one looks about good. This will be 2 things. It will make it easier to get it out of the pan without making a mess. And 2, I can put it on the racks in my smoker and it won't try to bleed through. I leave it on for about half of the smoking process, and then I pull it out. That way it gets that good crust and caramelization on the bottom, just like it will on the top when I finish in the smoker. So we're going to set these in the smoker, and you're going to want to put them on low temp with no smoker chips for an hour, hour and a half, somewhere in there, 120, 130 degrees, and let everything get dry to the touch before you hit it with the smoke. Otherwise, it kind of gives it a little bit of an off flavor. So yeah, I'll leave it in there until it gets the tackiness off of it and gets warmed up. Usually, like I said, it takes an hour and a half or so. Just there's no right way to do everything every time, because your temperature might be a little bit different. Maybe there's more moisture in the meat you're smoking, so there's no rule of thumb that's
100% accurate every time. You kind of got to eyeball it. So as soon as they're dry to the touch, move on to smoking, and then you can bump the temperature up to around 150-ish for a couple hours, hour and a half, 2 hours, and then bump it up to 200, and then just leave them in until they get to that 156, 160, somewhere in there. And then take them out. We're going to lay them on some cooling racks until they are completely cooled on their own. And then I'll put them in the fridge overnight, and then they're ready to slice. So I'm really excited to try this because I've been trying to make something like this for quite some time and had a few flops. This is an experiment too, but I have good feeling about it because it smells really good. So let's go take this stuff to the smoker. Okay, so I got them all in the smoker. This is a repurposed commercial refrigerator that I've converted into a smokehouse, and it works awesome. You got tons of room with the racks. You can hang all your sausages in there or whatever. I used to have one that was probably just maybe this size, and it would take me forever to do all of my meat every winter after hunting season. So I expanded and got a bigger one. That way I can do it in a couple days instead of a week or more. So works great, pretty easy conversion. You can pick these up on Facebook Marketplace for a good price. I think I paid, I feel like $100 for this one. Or I'm going to use a Bluetooth probe. This one's the Weber iGrill. There's a ton of them out there. This is just one I got at Home Depot. So you just start grilling, food temperature, pick a meat, doesn't really matter, and then I go to 155, set doneness, and it will help me monitor it. I will put it in the smaller piece of meat because it'll of course be done sooner. So, and it should let me know what the internal temperature is, and when it starts getting close I'll come double check it. But yeah, pretty much it. Okay, well, been in there for an hour and a half or so, and I've pulled the parchment paper from these. And the way I do that without tearing them apart is I'll just pop up one side like that, hang it over the rack, and I'll kind of just drag it underneath on each side and pull it out. It's hard to do with one hand, but. Alright guys, well, I like to use alder chips or apple, just my personal preference. I think it's got a very mild smoke flavor. You can hit it with a lot of smoke and it doesn't get too overpowering like some of the other woods. It's just personal preference, it's what I prefer. Running out of propane and ended up getting done a little later than I wanted to. This one is ready to go. Pull it out. Take it. Ooh, look at that color. Take it in. All right, guys. Well, it's the next morning, and we're gonna give this stuff a first cut. Put this so you guys can see. Trim a little bit of the outside off, and look at that color. Let's get us a slice so we can give it a shot here. Look at that. I will take this whole loaf and I'll probably cut it in half and run it through the meat slicer so I get nice slices, but just for sampling purposes, here goes. That is good. That is corned beef. Crazy. Well, the experiment worked. We were able to make venison corned beef out of stuff I would normally just grind into hamburger or pepperoni sticks. At the end of season, it's always a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out different ways to use your venison, elk, and deer up. And this is definitely a great way to use up a bunch of it. So I made about 20 pounds of this. I have a feeling we'll be making a lot more next year. So thanks for watching the video, guys. It was fun to put together.
This has been on my list of things to do for a while. We're going to be doing a lot more of these how-to videos, meat processing, gear reviews, things of that sort. So anything else you want us to make or try out, put it in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.